Okay, so here we are with part 2. Now we're going to go ahead and make the smoothie. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and cut up the watermelon. There's actually a technique for chopping up watermelon. It's not that difficult. But as you can see, I quartered it first. Not quartered it, but I kind of... And then you just kind of like go with the curve, the contour of the watermelon. And believe it or not, you can leave a little bit of the whiteness on it because that actually contains a lot of a chemical called citrulline. Citrulline is an incredible oxygen booster in the blood system. So don't be afraid to have a little bit of that. Okay, so here you can see I'm just kind of gonna, this is one of those little baby mini ones, so hopefully it's enough. So there, I like to cut it in half, and then, like I said, I always like to do the angled side 2 down, so it's kind of like at an angle down, because it just makes it easier for me. I'm a righty, not a lefty. Alright, so there we go. Okay, now next step is I want to do the carrots. So the way I do the carrots is real simple. I grab the carrots, so here we go. Here's my couple carrots that I'm going to use. And I'm going to actually prepare them next because I use the carrots. I'm washing them down here. You can see, just washing off the skin real good. And then what I want to do is I just want to cut off the ends. Okay, so you take the knife, line them up, and one nice slice gets rid of all the, both sides, gets rid of all the bad ends. So these carrots are really clean, but check it out. It provides a perfect tamping device for when I start to put the watermelon in. Alright, so let's go ahead. The cool thing about the blender is that it's very easily can blend up the watermelon. You don't have to cut it down into super tiny chunks. Look at, that's perfect. See how I do that? And at this point, you'll notice that I've got a few in there. That'll all liquefy very quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the blender on the lowest setting. And you'll notice it's not tamping down. So again, just take the carrot, push down. And voila, check it out. I've already gotten a base liquid going on right there. And at this point, once there's enough base liquid, you don't even have to tamp it anymore because there's enough to basically liquefy the rest. Alright, so there you guys see it's a little bit of it stuck, so I'll just use the carrot to tamp it down. And if the carrot hits the blades, no big deal because the blade will just chop up the carrot, which it's going to do anyway. So there you go. Alright, let's just do this little piece here. So drop that in. Boom. That's it. So now I've already got kind of not quite half already filled up with watermelon juice. Alright, next step. Let's go ahead and peel the beets. So quickly, I'm just going to go ahead and quickly peel the beets. Show you how to do that. Just start at the bottom. Kind of go along the contour of it. Just turn off the blender and get rid of the background noise. Alright, so beets now peeled, and get some of this skin off here. And now maybe just chop off that loose beet end. Beautiful, that's all we need right there. Let's go ahead and do the second beet. So I'm going to load this thing up with, looks like I just murdered someone. That's what beets have. All that wonderful red juice provides your blood with a bunch of NO, nitrous oxide, which has an incredibly powerful carrying capacity of oxygen. A good friend of mine, Dr. Nathan Bryant, worked with his professor, who had actually won a Nobel Prize for the study of how nitrous oxide actually boosts the carrying capacity of hemoglobin. This is the oxygen molecule that helps our blood remain extremely productive in the pursuit of carrying oxygen. And they even have a product out there. His company's Neogenesis. But this right here is the natural way. So if you can't do this, then of course you can always go with Dr. Brian's product. But I'm all about natural, and his product is also natural, but I'm all about fresh. I love the fresh. So okay, now it's time to put the beets in, so I'm just going to kind of, again, you don't have to chop them up too much because the blender does it quite easily for you. So probably just in quarters is perfectly fine. So we'll go ahead and turn on, and again, it's on very lowest speed right now, so it's not splashing up. And right there, now watch, this thing is going to turn a beautiful deep red as soon as I turn on the engine. Start it out slow, and then dial it up. All right. Beet number 1 is down. Let's go for the second one. There we go, just quarter it. No need to. Okay. And you can just see how red that smoothie was. Alright, so now we're at least 2/3. Now it's time for the garlic, the ginger and the turmeric. And again, there's no need to even chop this up. I'll just do it for giggles. There we go. Drop that in. Voila. All right. At this point, we want to put some kale in. So we have a good 2/3 of the liquid completed. You're going to wash off the kale. Make sure it's thoroughly washed. And then what I like to do, now again, this is not a perfect example of the kale that I use typically. Usually the green kale has a much thicker stem. But what I'll do is, starting from the bottom, I'll start to pull up. And wherever it breaks off, I use that. So I just drop that in. So again, I'll just show you guys again the technique. I'll start to pull the leaves. And as I pull, it eventually breaks off at a certain point. Throw that all in. Do it again. Here we go. Gonna start from the bottom, pull all the leaves because the leaves are great, and it broke off right there. Throw that in. Let's do this a couple more times real quick. Perfect. If you're really hardcore, there's no problem eating the stem. The Vitamix is so powerful. It actually damages or perforates the cellular wall, the plant cell wall, and has no problem to release all the nutrients inside. It will make the drink much more fibrous, which means you really have to shake it and make sure that there's no, well, it makes it more like a chewy smoothie than it does a blended, liquidy smoothie. So if you really want more fiber, which is fantastic for your diet, most Americans don't have enough, but that'll basically do that. All right, so let's go ahead and blend this bad boy down. We'll put the lid back on, crank up the volume. Alright, now you guys can see that I'm not at the top yet, and I like to fill this thing all the way to the top. I'm going to actually use all these carrots, and everything is just eyeballing. I'm just estimating, right? There's nothing that says you have to put this many carrots in or this many. Just eyeball it and figure out what works. Now, since I have so much room still left, I'm gonna fill the remainder of the smoothie of the dish with watermelon. So let's fill the remainder of the blender with watermelon at this point and just give it more liquid to work with. Alright, so here we go. Dropping that in is going to raise it a little higher. I know I can do more. You can hear those carrots grinding away. Alright. That's probably gonna top it off. Let's see, just so you guys can see. You see how close I am to the rim? And now you're gonna wanna hold the lid down because that's gonna, that's gonna basically spill out if you don't have that lid secure. Okay, we're gonna crank up the volume and let it sit for at least, let's say 30 seconds to a minute to grind it all really well. Alright, so you heard that I flipped it off of the highest setting. I call that Turbo Boost on the Vitamix. It's obviously the highest RPMs that this thing can pull, and I let it sit there for at least 30 seconds, better more like a minute. You can't overblend it. You obviously don't want to blend it so long that this solution is heating up, because we don't want to cook it. And obviously with enough friction you will start to warm up the solution, but you do want to blend it to the point where you've basically punctured every cell wall on all the fibrous material that we just made. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the final the blended smoothie right there. Now I'm going to take this, I'm going to start filling up each of our containers, and I can see that as it's pouring in, it's definitely not totally liquid. It's much more of a smoothie consistency, and I like to fill it all the way to the top to eliminate as much air as possible. The reason I do that is because air, oxygen, oxidizes, and oxidation is what causes the smoothie to turn from a delicious, nutritious smoothie into a wine. That anaerobic respiration. Alright, here we go. And we have a little bit more. Alright, so not quite all the way. And probably what we're going to do is reportion this. So we'll take a little bit out of here. I'm like a mad scientist, right? I'm rebalancing the test tubes. Take a little bit out of here. Okay, and we'll take a little bit out of here. Again, this is a pretty thick one, a little bit thicker than I usually make. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. Cap it off. Now it's important that these are drunk within the next, I wouldn't go more than 5 days, just because there's nothing in here that is, there's nothing in here that's a preservative. So it's basically like having cut up fruit and put it in your refrigerator. Because we've cut it up, it's now starting to oxidize. So it has all of that vital life force, that vital nutrition, but in the same token, it's starting to degrade. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We got enough for 1 day for a male, or let's say 1 day for a female. And yeah, 2 days from now, we'll go ahead and make another round. Thank you very much. I hope this was helpful. Bye-bye.